How's it going, fellas? Welcome back. WS Model Railroaders here. Today we're going to do a product review. I know last video I stated we were going to do some static grass, but it turns out my footage wasn't that great for the video, so we're going to change it up a little bit. We're just going to pick out an engine that we got here, and we're going to go ahead and do a review on it. Let's just see what we got here. Let's start out with something maybe some of you guys, beginners, are questioning. We got a Milwaukee Road here. This is a Walthers Proto. Walthers Proto. Got it. So you may be wondering about these cheaper engines, how they compare to maybe the other engines in the similar price category versus the most expensive. So we'll go ahead and get this on our little shelf here and we'll take a look at it. So just looking at the engine here, get you a nice little close up on the details and such. So you'll notice there's not that much indentation in between the panels of the actual train. I mean, there is, but it's not as darkening, so it kind of just looks like it's, a shell rather than actual possible doors. There we got the front there, so we got headlight. Looks like we might have some Mars lights here. We got some air hoses down here. Does it in fact come with metal spring couplers? Kind of look like the KDs. We do have a conductor, looks like, in there on each side. I'll just get a little nice view of the trucks there. Looks like we got pass-through vents in here, as well as not so much on the top, because that looks like it's where our speaker housing is. I haven't actually pulled this apart yet. And then we'll get a nice view of underneath. So first initial thoughts. I mean, it's a cool engine. The trucks aren't as detailed down here. Like I said, the paneling isn't the greatest compared to some of the other brands. There's a decent amount of detail, nothing crazy. We'll have to look at our functions to see the comparison. I can't recall how many functions this guy has. But just going off of that one versus, we'll go with a Broadway here. So you can see the paneling looks a little bit deeper in the indentation, so it doesn't look like necessarily just a flat shell. It actually kind of looks like it's got a little bit more detail to it. As we go around, looks like this one also has Mars lights, air hoses, very similar. Conductor in the front seat there. We got actual spinning fans, it looks like, on the top. So no housing to hide the speaker or anything like that. Our trucks are significantly more detailed there. And we got windshield wipers and such, which it looks like the Walthers Proto does have, but they're just not as visible. And this one obviously has the top service light. It's got the Mars lights. It's got the headlight, obviously. We got a nice little window shade, whatever you want to call it, there on the side. Then we'll just take a look on the bottom. So it looks like that's where our speaker is. So this is a Broadway Limited engine right here. And if we go to one of our most expensive engines we have here, this is going to be one of our scale trains. If you take a look at the details, there's just a lot more details in here with the hinges on the doors and stuff like that. We keep going around. We got some additional features on the window here. Looks like this one actually doesn't have a conductor inside of it. But you can just see there's a lot more detail going into play with, ladders, rails, stuff like that. We got ditch lights, we got headlight. This particular model actually has truck lights, which is pretty cool. And it also has a dashboard on the inside of the cab where you can actually see lights of the instrument panel, which is very cool as well. Apologies, this one's a little dirty as it's been on the layout, driving around a little bit, so it's seeing a little bit of grass and foam. We also got rear ditch lights. I actually didn't notice that it had rear ditch lights. It's pretty cool. So the details are pretty comparable. Let me take a look at the trucks there. Those are very nicely detailed too. They're pretty comparable to the Broadway Limiteds. And the Broadway Limiteds are definitely more inexpensive than the scale trains, but that doesn't go to show that sound quality and stuff like that on the scale trains. But going back to our Walthers Proto here, we'll go ahead and take a look at what's in the box here. Here's some of our sound. Looks like Walthers comes with the 1 limited year warranty. Got a nice diagram of the actual engine itself. So not much on the instructions with necessarily doing any CV assignments or anything like that. Doesn't really tell us how many locomotive sound effects we got. So if we want to change what kind of diesel it is, doesn't look like there's also a list of horns that we have to adjust. I'm sure there are, just it's not telling us how many are in there. Not on the manuals, at least right here. So might have to look online for some of that information. But without further ado, let's throw it on the track and see how it sounds. So far sound quality, not terrible. It's a little on the muffled side, a little on the quieter side. Let's go ahead and see what we got for a horn. It's also pretty quiet. Let's see our bell. Bell sounds pretty darn clear, surprisingly, compared to the horn and the engine sound. So maybe some volume adjustment may clear a couple things up, possibly. Let's go ahead and take a look at our headlight here. So it looks like function 6, we got cab lights. 7's just going to be dimming. So even though it looks like we got Mars lights on the front here, they actually don't seem to work going through all our functions here as well as looking at the manual. So I find that kind of interesting. We also don't have any cab lights on the interior, it seems. So basically, it looks like we only have pretty much 10 functions, which is those first 10 that are seen in the instructions. So anything additional doesn't look like it goes any further. So let's go ahead and get going forward and backwards. Let's hear how our engine revs up and such. Not much for brakes wheels when you're going forward and backwards and starting to slow down. It's very minimal the amount of volume you can actually hear the engine increase and decrease in RPMs when moving, just because it's so muffled. It's kind of sounds like noise. So in my opinion, with the sound card that's in there, surprisingly being Tsunami, I'm not too impressed compared to the other Tsunami Athearn engines that I have. Tsunami 2 in our Northwestern over here. You can hear that's pretty darn clear there. Go ahead and hit the horn and the bell here. And this is volume also at about half, I want to say. I turned it down just because it was actually really loud. So obviously this Tsunami sounds much better, so I'm not quite sure what coders they're necessarily using in the Walthers, but compared to the Athearns, the Athearns definitely have superior quality on that aspect with that type of decoder. It's not the worst by any means. I mean, it doesn't rattle that much. If you're looking to kind of get into DCC or maybe some DCC and sound, it's not a bad first engine to have. When you go to the store, you'll see a bunch of different options. You know, you got Atlas, you got Broadway, you got Athearn, Proto, all sorts of stuff going on, scale trains and Rapido, and you don't necessarily know which one to go for. So that's where these videos can come help you out. So kind of doing comparisons with different levels of the engines and such, so you can hear the differences as well as see the differences. It's definitely cool. I mean, compared to a regular DC, Athearn Blue Box, it definitely has a little bit more details to it. Definitely looks a little cooler. Has more lighting features and such, with the cab lights and the headlight, on separate circuits, as well as, you got your rear light and you got some additional rails and stuff like that, but it's just something that you could slowly work your way into to kind of start your DCC and sound collection. So with that, I think we covered the gist of it, you know, that you might want to get for information on this bad boy. Before I let you go, I'm going to go ahead and compare it with our Broadway Limited, and then I'm going to compare it with our scales just so you can hear the difference of the sound cards that are in them. So we got a Broadway here, which is going to be a Paragon 4 sound card inside. And these are kind of cool because they don't turn on when you turn the layout on. They'll turn on once you unmute them or start moving them. They'll actually do a full startup. So we got the guy walking on the gravel, opening a door, closing the door, and starting it up. Alright, now it's running. I'll phone. A bell. So the only thing I gotta say about the Paragon 4s is they're a little muffled as well, but that's something I can tweak with the CVs probably. Adjusting the volume of like the main blowers and stuff on the generator. You know, all that stuff can be tweaked down a little bit just so it sounds a little bit more clear, but I have noticed that the Broadways are pretty good compared to tsunamis or Aetherns. For sound quality, you do have a lot more features with the Broadways. When I do a review on one of these Broadways, you'll see all the lighting features and all the other sound features that it actually does have in comparison to the Aethern, and they're pretty similar in price. I think Broadway's just a little bit more usually. But yeah, you definitely get the detail and you definitely get the sound and lighting at the price point. And then lastly, we'll have scale trains, which is just absolutely superior in sound quality as well as detail and features. So the only downside with the scale trains is this one doesn't come with a back current keeper, as opposed to the Broadway, which does. Walthers Proto does not. Just kind of interesting being the most expensive and not having a current keeper. So this one, much like the Broadway, doesn't turn on until you actually start talking to it, which is nice because when you come in here and turn your layout on and 6 engines turn on and are blaring their engines as loud as possible, it kind of gets annoying. So being that it doesn't turn on until you actually talk to it is kind of cool. So that's our startup feature. That's just done by unmuting and muting the engine itself. Turns on all the lights for you. It's got a lot of lights on this one. It's pretty cool. You can hear the turbo. It's a turbo diesel here. Very nice sound. It's got our horn. Nice and crisp. Got our bell. Also really nice and crisp. And like very similar to the Broadway, there's a lot of lighting, a lot of sound features on these, so it's very cool, all the features that these do have. And I'll go ahead and show you a little bit more of the details on this scale train here. So you can see we got the truck lights down there. Got the engine going crazy a little bit there. We got deck lights down here. We got ID number lights right there. Come towards the front, we got cab lights in the front down there. We got cab identification lights up here, headlights. And if you're looking at cab there, you actually see your instrument cluster, which via the camera, it's a little on the blurry side. But with the naked eye, you can see individual symbols on those little circle things, which is a very cool feature, in my opinion. Also, thing I really like about these is they have engine really good brakes wheel when accelerating and then decelerating. It's just sounds very cool, sounds very realistic, and makes it almost sound like you can hear sound from the actual cars when driving. So go ahead and show you what that sounds like. So a lot more crisp and clear braking sound effects as well as just, general running. If you're willing to pay, I would definitely recommend going with scales. They're very cool. The only downside is the current keeper, but they're very cool engines. For the price point, they're on the expensive side. Broadway would be definitely the more inexpensive engine to buy. But if you're just getting into the hobby, I might recommend maybe get an Athearn. They definitely have pretty good sound quality for the price point that they're at. But then again, at that point, you're pretty close to the Broadway. So, you could start with a Broadway or an Athearn. A lot of people probably start with Athearns, but the quality only gets better as you put more money into it. So we'll have more of these reviews in the future. We got a whole bunch of different brands to go with. We got Atlas, Cato, Athearn Genesis, Athearn regular blue box. We got Broadway Limiteds, Rapido, and Scale trains. And then lastly, we also do have one steam locomotive that is Bachmann. That's really the only Bachmann we have on the layout. We had some Bachmann locomotives, DCC. Was not impressed. They're loud. They just don't run the greatest. Their details are not there. I'm just not a big fan of Bachmann. So the only Bachmann I have is my New York Central 464 is what it is. And that has the wow sound card in it, and it's just phenomenal. We also do have some Paragon 3 steamers. Paragon 2, I think, as well. I think that's what this is, or that might be a Proto Heritage. I can't remember what's in there. But yeah, look forward to reviewing these with you guys, maybe giving you more insight on your first DCC and sound locomotives, or maybe just giving you general information if you're looking to buy one. So stick around. We'll have some more videos in the future, and hopefully next week I'll be able to get to that static grass for you guys. We'll see. It kind of depends on how the other side of the layout goes. Right now we got the fall ground foam and everything all done pretty much, so I'm just waiting to do the lower level, so that's when I'll actually get to static grass. So it might be in a couple weeks from now. So we might be getting more of these engine reviews for a little bit, but we'll eventually get to more scenic stuff in the other room. So stick around. If you guys enjoyed, I'll go ahead and hit that subscribe button, maybe hit the notifications so you see when I post. Usually it's going to be on Saturdays in the morning, so we'll see you in the next video.